I've just started. So if you're watching this at home or later or on my YouTube channel, I always just take a few minutes to let people hop on live because it does take a little bit of time from the start time. So I'll just start by introducing myself. I'm Ted Bradley. I'm a certified hypnotherapist. Actually, I'm many things, but I specialize in helping people quit smoking. I've dedicated my life to it. Former smoker myself. Lost both my grandmothers to smoking and dedicated my life to it. I have done other things in my life, but this is what I'm really passionate about. Okay, so that's me. Here's what you're going to get out of today. Okay, I'm going to go into great detail about how to actually motivate yourself to actually quit smoking, because believe it or not, you would think it would be easy, especially when people have a habit that we know kills them. All right, you think it'd be easy to motivate. Man, it's really hard. You want to pick a group of people that are hard to motivate? Pick smokers. Uh, but anyone who's watching that's a smoker, you all know that. Anyways, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Okay, so that's what today. One of the things that today is about the actual motivation part. Okay, how do we actually motivate ourselves to actually do it? Okay, so the first thing I think that's really important to understand is that when we talk about how to motivate ourselves to quit smoking, this is different than, it's not the first step. This is the actual doing part, okay? The first step, if you're interested in that, that's not what this talks about. You can go and download off my website, the How to Prepare Your Mind for Quitting Smoking, okay? It's all there. This is about, you've already sort of decided you're going to quit smoking. You've already planted the seeds, okay? This is about, it's crunch time. And now you need to actually pick a start date, a quit date, and you need to motivate yourself. And to motivate ourselves, okay, there's really the important part is understanding what gets in the way. Because if we don't understand what gets in the way, how do we get around it? Okay, here's the thing about quitting smoking. When you quit smoking, okay, you have to go through something. Okay? The only way through something is to go through it, okay? You can't go over it, you can't go under it, you can't go around it, okay? You have to go through it. Quitting smoking is a process. It's like anything in life, okay? It has attributes, and it has things, and it has, we let things get in our way, and it's a task, okay? And we experience it differently. Different people experience it differently. For some people, it's easy. For some people, it's hard. But one thing that no one can get around is you have to go through it, okay? So here we are. We want to motivate ourselves to actually quit. We've decided we're going to quit, okay? We've decided. And now we have to actually do the going through. And that's the part that people find so difficult. And so to make that process easy, one of the things we can do, okay, because there's many ways, but one of the things that we can do is to understand sort of the psychology and the neuroscience behind what's holding us back, okay? And then basically realigning that so that it's not getting in our way anymore and it's easy, okay? So let's talk about that. And again, if you're just joining, I repost this on my Facebook page later, so you can go back and listen to the beginning of the talk. I also post it on my YouTube channel. You can go to my YouTube channel as well and get to talk. It's available. And you can go back and see previous talks as well. Okay, so here we are. We're talking about how do we actually motivate ourselves to actually quit. We've decided, okay, we've prepared our mind for quitting smoking. Okay, we've made the decision. We may even have picked a start date. And what's starting to happen now is things are starting to get in our way, okay? And how do we deal with them? So to go through that process, we have to understand what's actually going on psychologically and biochemically in our brain that gets in the way, okay? So essentially what happens is it's really about resistance. We become resistant to change. And when it comes to quitting smoking, there are three, okay, primary sources of resistance. Three of them, okay? We'll go through each and every one of them. The last one I'm going to talk about the most, okay? because in a one particular way, it's the most important. Okay, but there's three primary sources of resistance. Now we'll talk about each one, and I'll explain to you how to get over that. Okay, so the very first one, primary source of resistance to actually quitting smoking, is ourselves. We tell ourselves, I have to. I've helped over 5,000 people quit smoking for life. And almost universally, not totally universally, people tell me, I have to. I have to quit smoking. It's bad for my health. I have to. My partner hates it. I have to. And we say over and over again, I have to, 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 I have to. Okay. Now, that sounds like a good idea. Okay. But here's what you don't know. Okay. We know from psychology, that's a really bad idea. If you want to motivate yourself to do something, telling yourself you have to isn't going to motivate you at all. In fact, it's going to have the exact opposite effect in our brain biochemically. We're going to create resistance. Okay, here's why. Okay, if you catch yourself saying, I have to quit smoking, stop. Do not tell yourself that. Okay, think about it. What do you want to do that you have to? Almost nothing. Nobody wants to do anything they have to, right? We are raised as young children by our parents. You have to clean your room. You have to do your homework. You have to go to school over and over. We've hypnotized ourselves over decades to not want to do things we have to. What do you want to, what's something that you have to do that you want to? Okay. There are very skeptical people out there, and I've talked to them. And I'm telling you, the best answer I've ever gotten, and it's actually a good answer to the I have to conundrum, is, well, I've got to get up and make breakfast for my kids in the morning. That's true. But when you press those people, okay, they want anything that they have to do for their child, they actually want to. And they're just kind of dressing it up as a have to, because there is a sense in which they have to. Okay. But that's a special case where your brain can make this biochemical connection between a desire to want to as well. Okay. So that is a good example of something that we have to do that maybe we actually kind of do want to. Okay. Fine. 99 times out of 10, when you have to do something, you don't want to. When your boss tells you, you have to do this at work, do you want to? How motivated are you to do something you have to do? Okay. So what happens is we think to ourselves, I'm going to trick my brain. Okay. You can't trick your brain. It's not possible. Your brain's too smart. Okay. You know you're tricking yourself. Okay. You tell yourself, I have to quit smoking. It's going to kill me. It's bad for my health. I have to. You're trying to trick your brain. You're not. You're creating a self-defeating mechanism because you are framing the problem as something you have to do. A part of you is not going to want to do anything you have to. And here's something really interesting. And we understand why people do this now. Why do we frame things as I have to? Here's why. Okay. One of the things about ourselves through Darwinian evolution is we have a primary directive, which is to keep ourselves safe. Okay. If you watch my previous videos, I go into a lot of detail about this, how our unconscious mind and our conscious mind work, and our prime directive to keep ourselves safe. One of the ways in which we have to keep ourselves safe is emotionally and mentally, right? We have to keep ourselves mentally healthy. So here's what happens. We know that people who try to quit smoking, okay, try over and over and over and over again, and they fail. Okay. So let's take cold turkey, for example. Okay. We know only 6% of people successfully quit smoking cold turkey. Okay. You can find some studies that are a little bit higher, but it's actually a low number. And we know that the average person that quits cold turkey is going to try 30 times. Okay. So that's failure over and over and over and over again. Now, before anyone sends me a direct message or an email because they think I'm knocking cold turkey, I'm not knocking cold turkey. I am pro cold turkey. Here's why. Everyone who ever quit smoking quits cold turkey. It's impossible to quit any other way. Here's why. Because all cold turkey means is that you just stop. Well, guess what? Whether you're doing hypnotherapy, whether you're doing Chantix, whether you're doing the patch, you're doing it in conjunction with cold turkey. Okay? Cold turkey is a part of every method. Okay? That's what cold turkey is. So I'm not, when I explain and I say cold turkey only works 6% of the time and it takes 30 times of quitting cold turkey, that's if you use cold turkey not in conjunction with something else. You have to use cold turkey. There's no other way to quit but to just stop. Okay? So all models use cold turkey. So I am in no way trying to say that cold turkey is not a good method. It's the only method at the end of the day. We're all going to use it. It's the only way it works. Okay? So, but here's my point. What happens is our brain, it sort of builds in this self-defeating mechanism. And here's why it does it. Okay? When we tell ourselves, I have to. That's the first primary source of resistance to quitting smoking is we tell ourselves we have to. But here's why. Here's why. Okay? It has to do with our primary directive to keep ourselves emotionally and psychologically safe. Okay? When we try to do something, okay, and we really try, okay, and we fail, okay, when you really try to do something and you fail, that really says something about you internally, emotionally, psychologically, okay? When we don't really try or we give something a half effort, okay, our mind psychologically can say to ourselves, well, I didn't really try. I didn't give it 100%, okay? It's a psychological built-in mechanism that gives us a fallback to protect our self-worth, okay? So whenever we go to do something, okay, there's always a part of us that never wants to really try 100% because we don't want to have to face, I tried 100% and I failed. And that really says something about me. Okay. That's very hard on our psyche. Okay. So we built in the self-defeating mechanism. And you know you're using it if you're telling yourself, I have to quit. Okay. You are building failure into the model because we know we don't like to do things we have to. You don't. Nobody does. Very rarely. Okay. So how do you beat that? Okay. You have to reframe it. You don't have to quit smoking. You choose to quit smoking. Okay. You have to reframe it. Okay. See, I'm even using have to. So here's the key. Okay. You tell yourself, I have to quit, I have to quit, I have to quit, I have to quit. Okay. You don't have to. You know how I know you don't have to? There are people that know that they should quit smoking. And they smoke anyways. And everyone tells them, and they even know it's going to kill them. And guess what happens? They keep smoking, they get lung cancer, and they die. You don't have to. Nobody has to quit smoking. And telling yourself you have to isn't going to help you. Okay? It's a self-defeating mechanism that is wired into us, and we don't do it on purpose. But the conscious understanding allows you to reframe it. You choose to. I choose to quit smoking. Here's what you do. Just it's so simple. All you have to do is just close your eyes, okay? And think to yourself, just say to yourself out loud, okay? I have to quit smoking. And just feel what that feels like. I have to. Okay? It has kind of, you may find it has an angry edge or has some kind of edge to it. Now say this. I choose to. I choose to quit smoking. Okay, open your eyes. What you'll notice is if you pay attention to your feelings are just a biochemical response in your brain, okay? You're getting a different biochemical response. It has a different quality to it, okay? Changing your language will change your mind. Literally, biochemically, changing your language will change your mind. There's a whole part of my program that I do with people called neurolinguistic programming. Neuro, the brain, linguistic, language, programming the brain through language, okay? How we use language affects and changes our biochemistry in our brain. So you don't have to quit. You actually don't. You can keep smoking and kill yourself. You don't have to. Okay. You can choose to quit smoking. So watch your language. Catch yourself. When you're telling yourself, I've got to quit, I've got to quit. Tell yourself, I choose to. And watch the power behind that statement. Okay, that's number one. So there are three primary sources of resistance. One is telling ourselves we have to. Okay, no, we choose to. Okay. The second one, this one out of the three is kind of the hardest to kind of grasp. Okay, but I don't feel right about this. Okay. Now, the reason why it's hard to grasp is because we all intuitively know it is right to quit smoking. Okay. But there's something deeper going on in our brains. Okay. And this isn't true for every smoker, but it is true for most smokers. Okay. And here's what it is. When we don't feel right about something, what we're really saying is, in regards to quitting smoking, is that we have a task, which is quitting smoking. Okay. And when we don't feel right about it, and I'll give you some examples of not feeling right about it so you can understand in a second. What we're really saying is that the task is opposed to my values or beliefs. Okay, that sounds insane. How can my values and beliefs be about doing something I know is not good for me? Here's how. Okay, whenever we do something over and over and over again, and literally we smoke every day, and if you've watched my previous videos about habit and addiction, smoke, feel good, smoke, feel good, smoke, feel good. You're taking 200 drags a day, 400 drags a day. You're doing it year over year. You created a habit. Okay, whenever we do something over and over again, our brain associates meaning with it. Okay, so our brain brings in our external senses, sight, seeing, hearing, touching, taste, brings in these external senses, and it attaches meaning to it. So we're smoking and our brain attaches meaning to it. Okay, here's the kind of meaning that people unknowingly attach to it. Okay, so I'll give you some examples of clients of mine that come in to quit smoking for life. Okay, so I had this woman come in, lovely woman, and one of the things that was a struggle for her is that she felt like quitting smoking was like giving up her relationship with her mother. Okay, so some of you that may sound foreign. Okay, but I'll explain in a little bit more detail so it makes more sense. Here's what's happening. What would happen was when she would smoke, okay, often she had this habit of talking to her mom on the phone, and she would smoke. When she would go over to her mother's house, her and her mom were the only ones that smoked. She'd go outside and have a cigarette with her mother. So her brain associated connecting and bonding with her mother with smoking. Okay. And then what happened was her mother died of cancer from smoking. Okay. And now she's faced with quitting it. But a part of her, it didn't feel right about it because it was like she was giving up her relationship with her mother. She had come to associate with that cigarette. Okay. She'd come to associate with that cigarette, bonding with her mom. And so there's a part of her that didn't feel right about it. And that was causing resistance. Okay. I'll give you another example. We do this all the time when we're socializing, when we're drinking. Nicotine stimulates the pleasure sense in our brain. Okay. Smoking, socializing with friends, having a coffee, we associate feel good with smoking. Okay. So whenever we give it up, there is a part of our brain that it doesn't feel right. So here's the task. And somehow, unconsciously, it's opposed or contrary to this internal belief we've created about our relationship. Okay. Okay. So here's the key. You have to change the association with the task of quitting smoking. Okay. Here's how you do it. Okay. You have to become conscious of it. Okay. Here's how you become conscious of it. You think about, in what way am I creating meaning with the cigarette? And do I feel like I'm giving up a friend? Okay. Do I feel like somehow giving up smoking? A lot of smokers will feel like this. I feel like I'm giving up a relationship with I feel like I'm giving up a friend, my long lost friend, my cigarette. Okay. Here's the thing about the cigarette. Okay. One sec. I have tons of cigarettes here because I help people quit smoking and they have to give me their cigarettes. Okay, here's the thing about the cigarette. You have to tell the truth about that you have this feeling that somehow there's something not right about quitting smoking. You have some kind of association between, it feels like you're giving up a friend, okay? And then you just have to tell yourself this. See this? This, it's not your mother. This is not your friend. Okay, you know what this is? Is tobacco rolled up in paper. And any association that you think that you've made that this is your friend, it's literally insane. This is not your friend. It was never your friend. You know what you enjoyed? You enjoyed the socializing. You enjoyed being with your mother. You enjoyed connecting. So the way that you deal with this relationship you've created between smoking, okay, and socializing, feeling good, and a friend or a relationship with somebody, okay, guess what? It's all in here. And you can simply disassociate it by becoming conscious of it and just telling the truth, because you don't need to trick yourself. I promise you, this is not your friend. It's literally tobacco rolled up in paper. I promise you. Okay? And the association that you created in the back of your brain that this is somehow a friend or a relationship, you know is not true. You know it consciously. And here's the thing about it. When you know something consciously, your unconscious mind has to follow. Okay? It has to follow. So number 2 is, okay, number 1 is I have to. No, you choose to. Number 2 is I don't feel right about it somehow. Okay? Whatever associations you've made, and we all make them, between smoking and feeling good, okay, it's an authentic feeling. There's no such thing as an inauthentic feeling. But you just have to consciously realize this doesn't make you feel good. And if you go back and watch my video about stress and smoking, it doesn't even make you less stressed, even though you may think it does, because that's the experience you have. Go back and watch that video about correlation is not causation, all right, about smoking and stress, okay? You'll know what I'm talking about, okay? This is not your friend. It's just not. Okay, so that's number 2. It doesn't feel right, okay? We just have to consciously accept that it's not, and your unconscious mind will follow your conscious mind. It's really that easy, okay? Number 3, okay? The third primary resistance that we have to quitting smoking is I can't do this, right? It feels hard, right? Of course it does, right? We all know, those of us that have tried to quit smoking, especially if we try more than one time and we failed over and over and over again, it feels hard, okay? Well, it is hard, okay? So that's a way in which our brain resists, okay? Because we tell ourselves this is hard. We watch other people try and quit smoking. It's hard for them, okay? So the question becomes, okay, how do we overcome that this is hard, okay? This is the most important part, okay? So I'll just give you the answer first, okay? The answer is effort creates excellence, okay? What does that mean? Because I'm gonna get into this in some detail. Essentially, it means, and Nike really figured it out, just do it. Okay, what that means is that all excellence comes from doing something. Okay, if you look at the most successful people in the world, okay, they're not the smartest. Some of them just got lucky. Okay, but there is a commonality, and that commonality is effort. And what that really means by effort is it means doing, right? They actually do things. The people who are successful, or what we would deem as successful in life, at least, because we could have a debate about what is success. But what I mean by that is the people who achieve things like quitting smoking. One of the commonalities is they do, okay? They don't intend. They don't think about doing. They actually do things. What is not even all that relevant. Successful people will be successful almost anything they do. Do you know why? Because they just do things. That's why one person can start a business and be successful at it, sell it, and they can go start another business and they're successful again. The business isn't relevant. That's not the part they've figured out. They've figured out they just need to do something. They don't even need to be particularly good at it for the most part. Okay, so let's break this down. Okay, so here we are. We know that I can't do this or this feels hard kind of gets in our mental way, okay? So to break this down, we really have to understand sort of the psychology of willpower. Okay. So, and when we understand the psychology of willpower, then we can properly motivate ourselves. Okay. Because our will is all about doing. Okay. It's a decision. I'm going to wear red instead of blue. Okay. So we have to understand will. And once we understand how our will works, our will to do something, our will to accomplish a goal, okay, then we can use that knowledge to our advantage to help us and taking something that's hard, okay, or that we think is hard or we feel like is hard, like quitting smoking, and we can make it easy. Okay, we can start to hack the brain. So we have to understand will. Okay, so I'm not going to get into some esoterical discussion about what is will and what isn't will and willpower. What we really mean by will is the ability to make a decision. Okay, and it happens in our conscious thoughts. Here's the first thing about will. Will is a finite resource. Okay, it's not infinite. We know that from neuroscience. It's a finite resource. We only have so much of it in a day. Okay, it resets itself through sleep. That's one of the purposes of sleep. Okay, but it's a finite resource, and there's tons of studies on this. There's a really cool one of judges. Okay, we know that a judge at the beginning of his day, okay, will make more altruistic decisions and more likely to rule in favor of the defendant than at the end of the day. Okay, because what's happening is their will is a decision. They're making decisions. What happens is our brain actually gets will deficit. It gets tired. It gets fatigued. It gets fatigued of making decisions. Think about it. Our brain has to make decisions all day. When we get up, what are we going to wear? What am I going to have for breakfast? Am I going to shower before? Hopefully you do. But my point is that we're constantly making. Am I going to make my bed this morning? Am I not going to make my bed? Right? We make decisions all day. Our brain actually tires of it. Okay, we get fatigued of making decisions. Okay, so guess what happens? You're trying to quit smoking. It's 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. You've just spent your whole day making decisions. And now you have to engage your will to not smoke. Okay, you have will fatigue. Guess how hard it is? Yeah, well, it is hard. Okay, so that's the first point to understand. Okay, the more decisions we make, okay, the more we become decision fatigued. Okay, and we just have these constant choices. Okay, so here's how you hack that system so that you can make sure you make better decisions and that you utilize your will to quit smoking and not pick up that cigarette. 1, okay, you have to realize that your willpower is a finite resource. So you have to conserve it throughout the day. Okay, here's how you conserve it. Okay, make a schedule. Okay, if you schedule your life, what are you doing? You're taking decision away. When you go to bed, set out your clothes for the next morning. Already figured out we have the same thing for breakfast every morning for the week that the first 2 or 3 weeks you're quitting, right? Create a routine, because when you have a routine, you don't have to make a decision. So you start to conserve your will, okay? Make a solid routine and stick to it. Look at successful people. Guess what they all do? One thing that's unique to all successful people. They all follow a routine. Why? Because they're conserving their will so that when they have to make important decisions, they make good ones. Okay? That's number 1. 2, tackle important priorities first. Okay? So if you know you've got to make important decisions, make them in the morning when you have the internal resources to make good decisions. Okay? So make them early. Okay? So first is create a schedule. Conserve your willpower for later in the day when you're going to need it, so you don't get fatigued, decision fatigued. Tackle important priorities first. And the third one is eliminate unnecessary commitments. Okay, so let me give you an example. A lot of people don't even realize this. We're yes machines. We say yes all the time. We don't like to say no to people. We want to get along. Yes, Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll meet you there. Yes, you think so? I should tell them I'm going to meet them at 4. They want to meet them at 3. I'll meet them at 3, right? We give in all the time. Get good at saying no. You have finite resources, okay? We're born that way, okay? We are born astride a grave, okay? So all you need to do is very simple. Realize that you have finite resources and learn to say no, okay? Learn to say no. Conserve your decision making so that you can make better decisions later in the day, okay? So let's just go over willpower one more time, and then we'll go back to and revisit the third final thing, okay? Your willpower is a finite resource. It is not endless. Conserve it so you can make better decisions later in the day. Most people who quit smoking, when they pick up the cigarette and fail? Not at 9 in the morning. Almost never. It's almost always just before or just after dinner, when guess what? Their willpower has been fatigued. So learn to conserve your willpower. How do you do that? Create a schedule. Make big decisions earlier in the day. Learn to say no. Okay? That's how we do it. Okay, now, back to number 3. Okay? So, number 3 is, I can't do this. This is really hard. Okay? So we now know how to kind of hack our will so that it can be easier for us to do. Okay? And we can make better decisions later in the day. But there's another really important piece of this that I really, if I do, this is how I like to explain it. If I was leaving the planet on a spaceship, aliens came down and they picked me up and they're taking me away from you. And I only had a minute to yell something at you, and I could only say 2 things. I can only yell 2 things to you. Okay? I can only tell you 2 things about helping you. Here are the 2 things I would tell you. Okay? The first thing I would tell you is trust your own thinking, trust your own thinking, trust your own thinking. It's good thinking. Okay? Here's why that is so important to trust your own thinking. Okay? If you trust somebody else's thinking and it's bad thinking, it's hard to realize it. And it's hard to change your mind. So trust your own thinking. Okay? It's good thinking. Okay? That's the first thing. The second most important thing I would tell you to do is, whatever you do, just do it. Just do something. Okay? Here's why. And this is the most important thing, right? I've given you some good tips already about how do you understand the things that kind of get in your way from motivating yourself to quit smoking. Okay? But here's what you need to actually and practically do. You need to make a decision and do it. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's using my program, if it's going cold turkey, if it's using the patch, if it's using Chantix, right? Whatever it is you do something. Here's why, okay? There is magic in doing. It's the secret to success. It's the secret to motivating yourself. It's the secret to everything. Whatever you do, just do something, okay? Thinking about or intending to do something is not going to work for you. So I'm going to give you 2 examples, and I'm actually going to read other people's writing for this. And I don't usually do inspirational things, but hopefully this helps explain the concept of the importance of just doing, okay? So I really want to frame this, okay? And I really want to frame this in a context of essentially that whatever it is you do, just by being you, okay, you're entitled to it. You deserve whatever it is that you want to or intend to do. You are deserving it just by the mere fact that you were born, okay? And I want to frame this for the next thing I'm going to tell you right after, but it's important to understand the frame. So I'm going to read to you very briefly here, signed from Marianne Williamson, okay? This is often attributed to Nelson Mandela's inaugural speech when he became the president of South Africa. He just took a part of something written by Marianne Williamson, but it's really fundamentally true. So I'm going to read it to you. And before we move on to the final piece here, okay? So here's what she said, okay? Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Okay, if that's not your thing, all she means by that is that you are born unto this universe, okay, by your birthright, right? So you are entitled, we're entitled to equality just by the mere fact of our birth. We have certain inalienable rights just by being human, okay? That's all she means. Okay. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel secure around you. We are all meant to shine. As children do, we are born to manifest the glory of God. Okay? Again, or the glory of the universe, whatever. Okay? To manifest the glory that is within us. It's not just in some of us. It's in all of us. As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Here's the point. When we get into this thing in our mind of, I can't do this, it's hard. Why is this so difficult for me? Maybe I just can't do it. Maybe I'm not worthy. The point is, you are. Everybody is worthy of making better decisions about their life and having whatever it is they want in their life. We are all worthy just by the fact that we were born. We were born worthy. And her point is, how dare you not realize that? Okay? Who are you to not realize that? Okay, that's your point. That's why I want to frame this next piece. Okay, so the final piece and the linchpin to this is the power of doing something. What you do isn't even relevant. The power of motivating yourself to quit smoking. It's not about doing the right thing. Okay, we overthink this. I've got to figure it all out. Your figuring it out is getting in your way. You need to just do. It's the doing that is the magic. It's the doing. It's the doing of anything, of something that has all power in it. And I'm going to explain to you how. 2 pieces of this. 1, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. Great book if you haven't read it. Here's the thing about what we know from physics. Okay? You only have now. You do not have the past. You do not have the future. The only point of power is now. There is no other point of power. You cannot make a decision in the future. You cannot make a decision in the past. There is only now. You only have now. 3 seconds ago, when I said that, that moment's gone. That PowerPoint is forever behind us, never to be returned. Okay? You only have now. Power is in now. Power only exists in the now. It's the only place it exists. Okay? So that's one of the things that's magic about just making a decision, doing something. Doing something is making a decision in a now point, which is a point of power. When you do something, you are creating power. You are generating power by doing something. The contemplation of doing something is not taking advantage of a now moment. There's no power in contemplating quitting smoking and figuring it out. 0 power. You have no power. The only time you have power is when you actually do something. Whatever it is you do, just do something. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to get across. So here's how I like to really drive this point home about the importance of doing something in motivating yourself to quitting smoking, whatever it is you choose to do. Okay, it's really important to get this. I love using Sir Edmund Hillary. Okay, Sir Edmund Hillary is a famous Scottish climber. He climbed Mount Everest. He wasn't the first. He was one of them. Okay, and he was a follower of a philosopher named Goethe. Okay, so part of this quote comes from Goethe, but was something that Sir Edmund Hillary used to understand why he was motivated to climb all these mountains, why he became such a great mountain climber. Okay, and climbing mountains is basically the act of doing. Okay, so I'm going to read you. It's partly from him, it's partly from Goethe. Okay, so if you want to look the quote, you may have to look at both. Okay, so here's the first thing you need to know. Okay, when Sir Edmund Hillary looked back over his life and his career, okay, and he was sort of pressed about, how did you actually like do it and commit to it, and like what was the thing that actually motivated you to do it? He explained in great detail that the thing that he knew, that the one act, the one thing he could point to when he knew I knew I was committed and I was going to do it. When he climbed Mount Everest, they'd been planning it. They'd been talking about it for years. Okay, but they never were doing it. They were just planning, right? The moment he knew he was going to do it, if he could point to one moment, it was the day he bought a train ticket to India. When he bought that train ticket, he knew he was committed and he was going to do it because he did something. He actually did something. He bought the ticket. So here's what he says. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Okay? Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elemental truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. Here's what that means. What he's saying is, and what Goethe is saying is, it's the act of doing something that is creation. It's the act. It's in a now moment of actually doing something, not thinking about it, not contemplating it, but doing something. It's that moment that one becomes committed. So let me explain that. People say to me all the time, I'm committed to, when I used to do coaching, I'm committed to being a millionaire. And I will say, how much money do you have in your bank account? And they would say, $129.21. I say, you know what you're committed to? $129.21. How do I know? That's what you got. You are committed to what you got. You want to know what you're committed to? Look at what you have. That's what you're committed to. We are not committed to our intentions. Okay, when we think to ourselves, I'm committed to quitting smoking, if you're still smoking, you're not committed to it. Okay? You have to have a now moment where you decide, I'm going to make a power decision. I'm not going to pick up a cigarette. That's committed. That's commitment. And guess what happens when you make a decision like that in a now moment? When you commit to something and you do it, you actually do something. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It could be getting on Chantix. It could be just going cold turkey and not smoking. It could be the patch. It could be hypnotherapy. Whatever it is, it's the act of doing something. Because when you do something, when you commit to something, which is just another word for doing it, guess what happens? Things start to happen that fall in line with that decision. Whatever direction we put ourselves on, okay, which means making a decision and doing it, other things will come and aid in that process. So he goes on to say, then after he says providence moves too, all sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidences, meetings, material assistance, which no man or woman could have dreamed would ever come his or her way. What he's saying is, when he bought that train ticket, crap just started to happen to him. Things just started to fall in his lap. People started to give him money. People started to get on board. I'm going to buy a ticket too. Things just started to happen for him. Why? Because he made a decision in the now moment and he went in a direction. Unforeseen incidences just came off. And that's what he means by providence moves too. Okay? So here's the final point. And then we'll summarize everything. Okay? Here's the final point that he says. Okay? Whatever you do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now. Okay? That's the thing I would tell you. Is I'm going up on a rocket ship, leaving there. Trust your own thinking. Whatever you do, just do it. Stop thinking. Quitting smoking. It's the act of making a decision and going in a direction that is going to have unforeseen instances help you quit smoking. Going online and reading about quitting smoking and trying to do all of this stuff and thinking about it and contemplating and it's not going to get you what you want. You have to do something. You have to pick a direction and go. Okay? So let's summarize. Okay. So today's Facebook Live is essentially about how do we motivate ourselves to quit smoking. Okay. So there are some things that will help you. Okay. The first thing was to understand the three primary things that give resistance. Okay. Remember, it was we tell ourselves we have to. That's self-defeating. Okay. Change your language, change your mind. I choose to. Okay. If you joined late, I'm going to post this. You can go back and watch the beginning. Okay. The second thing was, I don't feel right about it. That's a harder concept because it might not be true for 100% of people, but usually at some level, we create some kind of relationship with this, right? You have to reframe it just by having an honest conversation to yourself with your conscious mind. You can do it in a mirror. This is not your friend. This is tobacco rolled up in a piece of paper. Literally. You do not have any relationship with this. None. And any association you made, you just made up. Okay? It ain't real. It's fake. There's no authentic relationship with this. Okay? Let it go. Okay? So you don't feel right about something. Right? What do I mean by that? I mean that you set a task, I want to quit smoking, and somehow you feel like it doesn't feel right because it's somehow opposed to a value or belief. That belief is often, I smoke to feel good. I have less stress when I feel good. Those are all false beliefs. Giving up smoking feels like I'm giving up a friend. It's not your friend. Okay? Those are false beliefs. You can let go of them. You literally can just by being conscious of them. That was number 2. Number 1 is don't say I have to. I choose to. This one, the second one is I don't feel right. Something doesn't feel right about it somehow. You have no relationship with it. There's nothing beneficial. There's nothing you're getting out of smoking. Literally nothing. Okay? 3 is the other thing that gets in the way is we feel like we can't do it or we feel like it's really hard. And that's an authentic feeling. It really does feel hard. And so what I did is I gave you a bunch of tips about how to sort of engage your willpower so that it feels easier. So I'll just quickly summarize those again. Your will, it's a finite resource. Okay? So you have to get better at not wasting it. And I gave you 3 tips. They were develop a routine, because when you have a routine, you don't have to make a decision, because we make decisions throughout the day. And the more decisions we make fatigue our will, our ability to make decisions. 2, make more important decisions earlier in the day. Okay? 3, eliminate unnecessary commitments. We say yes all the time. Learn to say no. You do those things, you will conserve your will. You will make better decisions later in the day. Most people who make a bad decision and pick up a cigarette again after they've quit smoking, it's almost always later in the evening when they've had will fatigue. Okay? So those are some real tips. Then the very last piece that I told you about this whole idea or belief about I can't do this. You can. Everybody can. Just by being born. Okay? You deserve this. Everyone does. You deserve to not do something you know is going to kill you. You deserve to beat this. Just by the fact that you were born, you deserve it. Okay. And then I went on to explain about tips about need to stop thinking about it. And the real power is in making a decision in a now moment and doing something, doing anything. Whatever method or model you choose, stop thinking about it. Just jump, just go, just do. Success comes from the doing of something, the act of something. Whether or not it's the right way or the best way is not relevant. Just pick a way and go. Do it. There is power and magic in boldness. Be bold. Make a decision. Pick a quit date. Pick a method, whatever it is, and go. Just do it. Thank you, and you can get this video in about 10 minutes off my Facebook page if you missed the beginning. And bless everybody. Have a blessed day. And I know you can all quit smoking, no problem. Thank you.